माननीय राष्ट्रपति महोदय, आपकी आज्ञा हो तो समारोह समाप्त किया जाए।
Well, that brings the event to an end. A long 2-hour event where we've had close to 60 ministers sworn in at Rashtrapati Bhavan. The visual that you see on your screen right now, as they disperse, we understand that there will be 2 dinners in 2 separate darbar halls. One for the very special people, about 35 people will be in one dinner, which is perhaps the senior most ministers who've been sworn in, along with the foreign dignitaries and other political dignitaries. Everyone else will be at a slightly more mass dinner, but there are 8,000 people there who will be fed by the chefs of Rashtrapati Bhavan. So it is going to be a special evening. What you're going to see on your screen right now is the group photograph of the entire cabinet that has been sworn in, along with the president and the prime minister. A very interesting cabinet, and also I would like to note, as you look at this whole thing, you will realize that Nitin Gadkari is the only one who broke the dress code and decided not to wear what is now known as a Modi jacket. And Kiran Rijiju. And I think Sadanand Gowda, who showed up in trousers, but
Paswan as well, actually, he's not wearing that
jacket. So there's the new government. For our viewers, this is the government that will lead our country into the next 5 years. And while we look at those visuals, there are big questions that we're going to ask tonight. And here are the questions that we're going to ask. Is this a cabinet of continuity, or is this a cabinet of freshness? What does the 2.0 cabinet that we've seen so far suggest to us? Does it suggest that the Narendra Modi government is looking to give most of these ministers their ministries back so they can continue the work that they were doing over the next 5 years, and within full 10 years actually be able to deliver whatever they started on in the first term? Or is it a cabinet where they're rewarding top performers in elections, top performers in the previous term? Because we haven't seen too many people promoted from their previous positions. So if there was someone who was Ministry of State last time, we haven't really seen them promoted above that in this particular term. Opening this up to my panel, and my experts stay with me in the studio, and of course in Delhi, Badshah Sen and Rajesh Sundaram are with us as well. So here's my first question. Is this a cabinet of continuity? Do you expect it to largely be the same as they each walk up to the president to thank him and the prime minister? Mr. Rao, do you expect this to be a cabinet of continuity from what you've seen so far?
Yes, I would say it is a cabinet of continuity and cabinet of expectations. There are there is definitely continuity. If you look at the senior ministers, it is there for continuity, and there are some who have been now inducted in the cabinet. They are out of expectations. I don't see any electoral merit has come into picture here. Not even because in Maharashtra and in Haryana and some other states there will be elections this year or next year. Even I don't think that is also been considered in this induction. But it is definitely for continuity. For major portfolios, they would, I think, would be continued, except the fact that yes, Sushma Swaraj and Jaitley,
Arun Jaitley are missing. So Suresh Prabhu.
Yeah.
So these are the big changes.
One one surprise is the exclusion of Suresh Prabhu, because so far Suresh Prabhu was seen as the blue-eyed boy of the Prime Minister. Even before Modi became the Prime Minister, he was a member of his back room, his think tank.
So, any idea as to why Suresh Prabhu would have been, left out altogether? Why has he been dropped?
It's a real surprise. Perhaps he would be given some different responsibility out of cabinet. Because he is not he did not contest the election. He is a member of Rajya Sabha. So perhaps he will get another portfolio.
So the foreign dignitaries walking up to the Prime Minister and the President to offer their best wishes at this point. Rajji, any ideas as to why Suresh Prabhu got dropped?
I think that Suresh Prabhu ji was holding two ministries, civil aviation and commerce. And these two ministries were very important. But if you see both the civil aviation ministers, Suresh Prabhu and Jain Sinha, being out from this ministry. Jain Sinha may be punished because of his father's deeds. This is a reverse dynasty kind of thing. Then son being punished for father's deeds. So Yashwant Sinha may be the cause for his departure. I don't know what truth, but politics is a very strange game. And Suresh Prabhu may be out because of maybe Shiv Sena and his relationship was very strenuous. And I'm still surprised why he's being kicked out.
I don't buy the
Shiv Sena point.
Both of these ministries, civil aviation and corporate affairs, are going through very, very difficult times right now. Civil aviation particularly, that entire industry is in the doldrums. And corporate affairs, we've seen, has been dragged to court by the income tax department for various, various problems that they're having right now with their databases, with what they've done with shell companies and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see who gets chosen in their place.
Very true. And so, I mean, even from an electoral point of view, I think, Jain Sinha won by almost 4.8 lakh votes, which is the highest in eastern part of the country. And given the fact that he has some administrative experience in life, which a lot of other cabinet ministers and ministers don't, so it's really surprising to see him being dropped. I mean, some amount of continuity in the civil aviation ministry particularly would have helped.
Yes.
Sorry, and you see, as far as the the commerce and industry part of it is concerned, given that Suresh Prabhu has been dropped, so I guess Mr. Jaishankar is a like replacement there, given his vast experience in the foreign services. So
yes, in fact, I saw Rajesh wanted to say something. Rajesh, go ahead.
Well, I think it's mostly a continuation of what was happening, with the exception of Mr. Jaitley and Sushma Swaraj out on health grounds. But mostly this thing, and of course, I agree with the other panelists on this.
The other big change, and we must talk about it, is the introduction of Mr. Amit Shah. So while Narendra Modi begins his second innings at the other side of the crease, as his partner in this innings is Amit Shah. And it is going to be, without a shadow of doubt, these two gentlemen who are going to, keep the runs ticking. And it's going to be a partnership that runs this government.
Without a doubt. And I think that's why the maximum interest perhaps is going to be revolved around what portfolio does Mr. Amit Shah get. Because clearly, the portfolio that he gets will be Prime Minister Narendra Modi's biggest area of focus, because he's the one man who perhaps trusts him a little bit, more than anyone else. And also, Amit Shah is perhaps the only man who can actually say no to the Prime Minister on certain things, which nobody else in the party can.
So now that brings me to the next question. What do you think is going to be the Prime Minister's biggest area of focus in this term?
Personally, it should be finance. That's personally my view, that if he, as I said earlier, that he's far too clever a man to know that despite the mandate he's got, the economy and agriculture, especially the farm sector, have been in bad shape, and that he needs to fix it, because the first innings was a honeymoon period. The second inning is a vote in trust, and you have to win the trust, and the trust goes out very quickly in the second inning. So I think he understands that, and that's perhaps where I would focus my attention on.
Mr. Rath, what do you think is going to be the main focus for the Prime Minister? Which ministry is he going to want his strongest person on?
Definitely, Prime Minister Modi's main focus in this innings would be to set the finance in order. Because last time, because of perhaps demonetization and GST, there was a lot of flack that his government had to take. This time he would not like to take this type of risk, and still he has to bring the Indian economy back on rails. Yes, definitely we have been saying that our GDP is growing and all that, but still the common man, the man on street, is facing the hit because of many other things. He will have to bring that. Secondly, in the first innings, Modi had always the opportunity to blame the previous government.
Yes.
This innings, he will not be able to. He will have to
So
prove himself.
two things, yes. In fact,
Secondly,
yes.
at the end of this term, Modi will be 73, if not more. So we will become an old man. So before that, he attains 70, he would like to achieve whatever he wants to achieve.
Well, you're absolutely right, because the arguments we receive normally when we bring up economic issues, and we do it a great deal on this channel, is that one, we inherited a bad system from the Congress. They had 70 years. Give us more time. Now, this is the country giving the government more time. And I'm actually personally very happy to see the continuity, because that then also for us as journalists allows us a continuity in tracking process, because you have the same person now who's continuing, if that's the case, with the ministry, who is liable to answer what happened for what happened in the previous term as well. And you can't turn around and say this is not my. So is everyone leaning or suggesting that Amit Shah is going to be finance minister?
Yeah, I feel so, because it's a more kind of continuity with change. Change at two places, External Affairs Ministry and the Finance Ministry. And these two are his blue-eyed boys.
Yes.
Jaishankar plus Amit Shah, and they are very trusted also. So, and these two, External Affairs Ministry, Modi was very popular as an external ministry, and he toured everywhere. Last elections also, people voted him because they think that he has raised the izzat of India.
Yes,
So-
overseas. Yes,
so
absolutely.
overseas. So what, and the economy, I think Amit Shah will be very keen to play, because all Gujaratis knows from where money comes and goes. So he has basic instinct for the economics. I don't know, I don't call him as a great economist or GDP and inflation and other difficult things he may be understanding, but he will
I
be
mean, technically, I want to
go-getter,
disagree
and
with
he has
you.
a robust common sense.
Because economics is a complicated subject, and there are people who do PhDs in the subject to actually understand it. I don't know if we can safely equate that to being Gujarati, or if being Gujarati in any way makes up for the fact that you don't have an economics degree.
No, I
Vivek?
mean, you need to be cued in, because otherwise what will happen is, you'll end up making the same mistakes that Pranab Mukherjee did, when he was finance minister in the UPA government. He was still stuck in the 70s and the early 80s.
Yes, with his
and the world had
retrospective
moved
tax
on.
and things like that,
So,
yes.
so it depends on, how cued in you are into what is happening in the world around you, and how do you expect to tackle it. So
I think the only thing one needs to keep in mind is, except Dr. Manmohan Singh, we've never had a professional economist as a finance minister. Okay, all of us have been politician finance ministers, and none of them have been. Yashwant Sinha was a bureaucrat, but he wasn't exactly an economist. But so,
Yes, except for Dr. Manmohan Singh.
except Dr. Manmohan
yeah, I
Singh
mean, Mr. Chidambaram was an MBA, so
was an MBA, yeah, but
to that extent. Yeah.
Kuch to economics पढ़ के आएगा.
No, so I don't think it's
But
about.
technically, okay, like if we argue this, our current RBI governor is a history major.
I mean, see, that's
So,
an exception. Let's not go there. Because all the RBI governors,
have necessarily been career economists.
Yes,
Yes.
they have been
I don't
economists.
think
they have been-
academic qualification has anything to do with the decision making
In the
or
Okay.
the success in finance. Because I tell you, YB Chavan
Yes.
was one of the most successful finance ministers at that time. He had nothing to do with finance.
Okay, let
No,
me
sir,
just
so
read
the
out.
world has changed a lot since YB Chavan was finance minister.
Yes.
That is,
All right, let me just read out.
No, I
this.
mean,
But I do believe that there is a consensus on the panel that finance is what Mr. Amit Shah is likely to have as a cabinet berth, because we know who's going to get foreign affairs. It's precisely why Jaishankar was brought in. We know that Mr. Rajnath Singh is likely to hold on to home, in which case then the only other gap big enough for Amit Shah is
Piyush
the
Goyal
finance
is
ministry.
still one of the contenders.
Let me just read out. Yes, Piyush Goyal is one of the contenders as well. But if
I think Piyush
Narendra Modi
Goyal
was
would be a
choosing
better
between Amit Shah and
choice,
Piyush
so-
Goyal,
Then Amit Shah, obviously.
let me just read out the list of dropped from this, from this team. Sushma Swaraj, Arun Jaitley, Suresh Prabhu, Rajyavardhan Rathore, Uma Bharti, Maneka Gandhi, J.P. Nadda, Anant Kithe, Virender Singh Chaudhary, Radha Mohan Singh, Mahesh Sharma, Manoj Sinha, and of course Alphonse, who lost the election.
Of which two have lost the elections.
Two have lost the elections.
Anand Gite has lost and Mr. Alphonse.
Manoj Sinha also.
Manoj Sinha also.
And two have opted out.
So J.P. Nadda not being in the list at all is a glaring suggestion, is a loud suggestion that he will be party president.
For sure.
Yes.
He's just too important a guy to be left out of a cabinet. It's very clear he's becoming the next party
Do you
president.
think he'll be made the speaker? No, but he's a Rajya Sabha.
No, he's a Rajya Sabha. But in any case, I mean, he's very trusted. He's trusted by both Mr. Shah and Mr. Modi. So there is no question that he's the next BJP.
Yeah.
Well, also the other person that we have to note is Rajyavardhan Rathore, who is not, I mean, we saw him in the audience with his wife, I think, but
So he's been dropped, yes.
not Minister of State, not so, it's not even, I mean, status quo.
But I think
he's lost his job.
Yeah, he's been dropped, as Chaturvedi Sahab said earlier.
Yeah.
He's been dropped because of the Rajasthan factor. See, Gajen Shekhawat is a way more senior politician. I mean, he's young, he's still, he's still learning the ropes pretty much. But for me, actually more than that, there is in the list of droppings that you just mentioned, Faye, one name is an endorsement of a lot of things that were being said in the media, which is the dropping of Radha Mohan Singh. I mean, agriculture has been an issue of huge concern.
Yes.
And for some part of the media in Delhi, for instance, used to actually call Radha Mohan a performing minister. I've seen that kind of narrative very often in the media. Clearly, he wasn't. I mean, you can't be a performing minister with agriculture in such bad shape.
Yes.
And now that he's
also
not.
the agriculture ministry, for example, was very poor with data. It was very poor with information. It was very difficult to source anything from that ministry. It was just a difficult ministry, given what was going on in the country also. But I just want to bring in Mr. Badshah Sen. Mr. Sen, I think my team has sent you the entire list, and it should be on your iPad right now. But I just read out the list of people who've been dropped from the team in this 5-year tournament. Are you surprised by that list? Of course, Mr. Jaitley and Ms. Swaraj, health reasons, there's nothing anyone could do there.
Yes. No, first I'd like to, since I've been listening to what's happening and much water has flown down the Jamuna, not that there's much water here since this conversation began. First of all, I'd like to point out, it's a very minor point, Chidambaram has got only a 3-month degree from Harvard. You know, it's one of those things where, so actually Chidambaram is a lawyer. He's a lawyer, so was Arun Jaitley. So I'm just simply saying that you don't need to be an economist to run the Ministry of Finance. Most of the guys who run it are not economists. There's plenty of bureaucrats and so on and so forth who back you up. That's one. I mean, although we've been anticipating this, still one can call it a Modi 2.0 as a shift. I mean, bringing in someone like Amit Shah, who's so useful to the party, where they're going to be facing various state assembly elections means business. Now, means that now Modi is shifting from his emphasis on the party. He seems to be more confident of the ability of the party and his own abilities to carry them through the elections. So he now needs people in government who can get the work done. So I therefore assume that Amit Shah, by process of elimination, exactly like the rest of my fellow panelists, have come to the conclusion that he will probably get finance, because that is where the government needs to work, really. It's finally the finance ministry that provides the grease that keeps the government and the economy going. That's one. Number two is the foreign ministry is something where, I'm sorry to have to say, in the past, Sushma Swaraj, lovely and nice as she was as a minister and a human being, was, we all know, a person who was known for providing visas to various characters, either Indians in distress or Pakistanis in need of medical treatment. So the foreign ministry was run and probably was run entirely by Mr. Narendra Modi and Mr. Doval, with a little bit of help perhaps from Jaishankar. So now shifting Jaishankar to the foreign ministry means they're going to give more emphasis. They will now allow the foreign ministry to become a little more freewheeling and a little freer and function freer because the Prime Minister and Mr. Doval probably repose enormous trust in Jaishankar. So that is the change that's happened where the minister, that is Amit Shah as finance minister and Jaishankar as foreign minister, will actually work. The other ministers were all rubber stamps in the past Modi 1.0. So this is the change, that there will be some ministers who will, of course, all of them report to Modi, but whose bureaucrats will also probably report to them rather than to the Prime Minister's office. So this is one very major change I've seen. The other and final one I've seen is I don't think Modi's bothered too much about the politics of the whole cabinet formation insofar as there is not enough representation from West Bengal, there is not enough representation from Tamil Nadu, there's too much from Himachal Pradesh. I don't think this is going to make any difference to Mr. Modi or his party machinery. They are not, he has not formed the government necessarily to pander to or woo various states back into the BJP fold. I think he's just done it so that he's trying to put an efficient ministry together. That's basically it.
It's very well said. Bacha Sen, would you also believe if I told you that we really miss you in Mumbai today and we wish that you were in the studio, it would be far more fun conversation than to have you sit in Delhi. But the other question I must ask our panel tonight is this. And anyone who wants to hazard the guess, please raise your hand. Smriti Irani. Now, there was some buzz that she would be given external affairs. Now we know external affairs is, in all logic, likely to go to Mr. Jaishankar. What will Smriti Irani be given? Which cabinet berth? You don't know it? Everybody's too afraid to answer.
I know Smriti Irani, and I think she is a woman for all seasons.
Yes.
Yeah, and she's a go-getter.
Yes.
From a personal characteristic, she's a go-getter. She began as an artist and actor in a television series.
Yes.
And then she came up and then she contested 3 elections. 2 she lost, 1 she won.
Yes.
And she was very close confidant of Prime Minister Modi before he became the Prime Minister.
Yes.
So she's a go-getter. First she got HRD, where she made some stupid statements, took the flak. After that, she was given INB for some time.
Yes, INB.
There also she made ruckus. Then she was given Textile Ministry. Though Textile Ministry is a backroom ministry, it is very, very important.
It's an important ministry and a lot of jobs depend on that ministry, yes.
So that is a very important, and particularly if you see the history, most of the textile ministers, they come from Gujarat. So though it was seen as she was sidelined, actually she got the job which she deserves.
Yes.
So perhaps she will continue to be a textile minister, or perhaps she will get another ministry which is not so much in focus.
Okay.
But it is a productive ministry.
Do you agree, Anuragji?
No, I think that she will upgrade it, and she may
she's earned the right to ask for
HRD
more.
ministry because she has been shunted out from that ministry. So she can prove her ability that I can run this ministry again. And although, and I think that to defeat Rahul Gandhi is not an easy thing.
It's not an easy thing.
She's a giant killer.
Yes.
So she should be rewarded with a good ministry, or even aviation sector is also, she can be a good aviation minister. And because as Bharatji said, she's a performer. So let's see. But I think that textile ministry is too small and too obscure.
Yes. I mean, the question is...
It is not. That's why I'm saying the textile ministry is not small ministry. Particularly in today's time when there is reorganization of textile mills.
It used to be big ministry.
What about, see, there's another very big ministry we haven't talked about yet, and that's railways.
Yes.
We haven't considered any, I mean, it's not up to us to consider the options, but we haven't, actually talked about it yet. There's railways, and railways is a very big, and it's a very front-facing, it's a front-facing ministry.
Yes. Look, the reason why I did not start off when you asked this question was this. Mr. Modi is a master at springing at least 2 surprises, which is beyond and away from any other speculation one may make.
Yes.
Okay, which is why I don't like hazarding a guess with him. He can spring up the most unusual surprises. You're right, railways is a very important ministry, and Mr. Modi was very clever enough to realize the importance of the ministry because this is the only central ministry that actually taps every part of India
Yes.
without bothering about the state.
But so you consider this, right? When they changed the chai service inside the railways, which is a decision that comes from one office in Delhi and then gets implemented across the country, the impact it had on just ordinary citizens who said, wow, this is so nice.
Not just that, not just that. I have a very different reason of why I think he was clever to realize railways. Look, in many other subjects, which are concurrent list subjects or state list subjects, you have limited authority to show the implementation of it. Railways, you don't have that problem at all. It's entirely a central subject. One of the things that dramatically altered some bit of perception of Mr. Modi as a government was the cleanliness drive because of Swachh Bharat that happened. No, there is no question that the Indian stations and trains improved since he came to power in terms of cleanliness.
I mean, what about Piyush Goyal?
He's been a performer as well. There is
and
no doubt
Piyush
about
Goyal, if Amit Shah,
I think
again, we are speculating, forgive us viewers.
New departments also, because we should not only think in the terms of the present departments. Say that Swachhata Abhiyan department can be also be established, because as you rightly said that he is out of box thinking.
And I do hope that there is a fisheries ministry that is set up, because we need one.
My other sense is he will probably give water the ministry of higher profile than has been given so far. That's my sense.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of work to be done in water. But I just go across to Rajesh. Rajesh, do you want to hazard a guess? And viewers, I'm going to be completely honest here. We don't have the list of which cabinet berth has been allotted to which minister. We're waiting for that. In the meantime, we're guessing. And I'm being completely honest about the fact that we're guessing, but we'll know fairly soon. One expects by about 11 p.m. that list will be out. But Rajesh, do you believe Smriti Irani would be given a more important portfolio? Let's actually say it this way. By defeating Rahul Gandhi, has she earned the right to demand more than textiles?
Well, I think we'll get to know, because I think one of the big priorities for this government would be the infrastructure. They said that about ₹1 lakh crore is going to be invested there. So the infrastructure ministries would be a key indicator. If somebody gets a ministry which is one of the key infrastructure ministries, you can know that that's a person who the Prime Minister trusts to deliver. So if she makes one of those, clearly, that'll prove that she's proven her skills over the 3 ministries that she's handled, and also the latest electoral upset that she's been able to get as well.
In fact, another very important ministry, and we talked about the fact that Radha Mohan has been dropped, but agriculture. And agriculture will be again a ministry that Mr. Modi will need to hand over to someone he trusts, because it's going to be important, it's going to matter in the next couple of years. Vivek, who do you think?
Yeah, I don't know who he'll appoint, but agriculture and HRD in India is basically the education ministry.
Yes.
Need 2 serious ministers, which at least the agriculture minister in the last cabinet was a very non-serious one. So it's anybody's guess. I really don't know. Who they'll pick up.
So we're also being told that between 10:30 and 11 o'clock is when we can expect the list to be out. 10:30 p.m. to 11. It will come out tonight, but it's going to come out late. So we're going to wait, of course, for that list to come out. It's going to be very, very interesting. But Vivek is right. Both HRD and agriculture
serious minister.
Needs to be more serious, perhaps. You have Mr. Javadekar. But
what happens is, we in India tend to look at the glamorous ministries, everything from external affairs to defense to home. But in my thinking, I think education and agriculture should probably be the 2 most important ministries after the Prime Minister, which never really happens. And even in even if you talk to a politician, for them these are essentially not ministries which are not sexy enough, for the lack of a better word. So.
Yes. So on your screen is the dropped list. Of course, Arun Jaitley opted out because of his ill health. So did Sushma Swaraj. She opted out, in fact, before the election. This is the big surprise. Suresh Prabhu. Suresh Prabhu being dropped. He was Commerce Minister in the previous term. And no one knows why. He's just not at the event. He was not in the audience. Like I said, Sushma Swaraj having opted out of this term because of ill health. But I completely agree with Vivek that education and agriculture are going to be important portfolios.
No, there's no question about that. There should be. I don't know whether they will be or not, but certainly they should be. There's no doubt about that. And also, look, he's right. The Home Ministry, for instance, is a more fancied ministry.
Yes.
But the deeper and the longer lasting impact comes from ministries like agriculture. And these are also ministries where gestation periods are longer, which means you do something today, the benefit and the gestation period of what result comes out of it takes a little time. And hence you need a little bit of vision, you need foresight, you need to start investing from now to see the results come in the next 5 years. So Home is a very immediate ministry. I mean, of course, it requires reforms, but clearly that's a more immediate.
Well, if we take a look at the list of dropped, ministers, Maneka Gandhi, for example, we just talked about Jayant Sinha. He's a fairly young entrant into Parliament. Are any of these, and JP Nadda we talked about as a possible party president, but are any of these options for Speaker? Is that why they would have been dropped out? Do you believe Maneka Gandhi could be that option?
I think Maneka is the front runner for the speakership. She is 9-time MP from UP, and she has vastly experience of how Parliament runs. So she is maybe the contender. And one more minister being dropped is Anupriya Patel. She's from Apna Dal party.
Yes.
And she was also doing good job, and she had a large number of followers, and they are alliance partner. So all is not well with alliance partner. JDU is not.
JDU is not happy.
Is happy. Apna Dal is also not happy. So there are some discontent voices also there, although it's very unheard in Modi's regime.
If you actually add the list right now, you're going to possibly see about 19 new faces, because Satyapal Singh has been dropped as well, so is Anand Hegde. So the list is growing. I mean, now that we're discovering newer and newer people.
Yeah.
There are about 18, 19 ministers that will not be there in this cabinet.
I'm surprised by the fact that Anand Kumar Hegde has been dropped.
That's right. So
particularly when BJP is trying to make more inroads in Karnataka.
In Karnataka. But they've got Sadanand Gowda and...
but Sadanand Gowda was...
But Anand Hegde is a very hard Hindu liner. And
also Anand Hegde actually embarrassed the government a couple of times in the last term by saying very...
Could it be because of that? Because that possibly could be a reason.
He's a bit of a motor mouth.
So, no, but then there are a lot of other people who are exactly
also in
like
this
that
list
and
who are also
there in
motor
the
mouths.
cabinet.
So that quota must be fulfilled.
The motor mouth quota is full.
And Gowda must have been taken in and given cabinet rank, perhaps because of his caste, Gowda. So definitely BJP would like to woo the Gowda community, which is a big number in Karnataka and also in part of Andhra.
In fact, Gowda was the original railway minister in the last cabinet.
Yes.
Till he got dropped and...
Yes.
But I'm surprised Anand Kumar Hegde.
Yes.
Because after Anand Kumar...
Yes. Badsha Sen, go ahead please. Badsha Sen.
Yeah, Faye, I think that one thing which is rather odd, because I discovered this somewhat by accident some years ago. And that is actually it's not the agriculture ministry which is that important, it's the rural development ministry. It has the second largest budget in the government of India, and it runs Sabka Yojana, Sabka Vikas, Gram Swaraj Abhiyan, Manrega, Mission Antyodaya, and so I can give you the long list, it will get very boring, but these are all key programs of Narendra Modi. And somebody will have to handle that ministry. It got plenty of money. I think the second highest budget in the whole of the central government. And somebody very, very close to Modi or whom Modi trusts will have to run that, because Modi is obviously looking for Modi 3.0 5 years from now. Also, he is looking at the anniversary, I mean the 70th of the Mahatma Gandhi birth anniversary. Then we have the government of India's, independence anniversary. All of this will probably be served a great deal through the rural development ministry, which will have plenty of cash.
But rural development
and so plenty of opportunity for some crook to do something.
Well, the other person we have to talk about is VK Singh.
That's the point. I don't know then who is... I don't know who's taking
that. Who's going to take over?
Who is taking that? Is it going to the agriculture ministry? Yes. So whoever or where it will go, that is very important. If it goes and gets attached to agriculture, then agriculture becomes important. But I don't know where it will go.
Absolutely. In fact, General V.K. Singh again being sworn in as Minister of State. So no promotion for him. Right?
But personally, if you ask me, I wasn't very surprised by that because I don't think he was spectacular as a minister in any of the stuff that he's handled so far. Even in the first innings when he was given the job which pretty much looks after the passport office and he's also the overseas affairs. So I don't think he was that spectacular a performer.
No, he was also the statistics program
ministry, which is where the data
and statistics has been a
he had independent charge.
But he got removed, and the controversies happened after he got removed.
After he was removed.
Fair to him.
Well, the controversy. Well, technically, the reports in statistics, anyone who studied it would know, are not prepared overnight. It actually happens over months.
This ministry was taken away from him maybe over a year before the controversies actually began.
So he was statistics minister till I think November 2016.
Correct.
After that, the hangama happened.
But I'm still surprised the dropping of Mahesh Sharma, who's a cultural minister, because BJP is very cultural conscious party, and dropping Mahesh Sharma says many things.
The Noida
MP, and he's a very good hospital, Kailash Hospital's owner also.
That could be possibly because.
What about Giriraj Singh?
No, that could be
culture?
possibly because last time one of the criticism was that the NCR region was sending a disproportionate number of ministers to parliament. I mean, you had the Gurgaon Ravindra Singh as an MP, you had VK Singh as an MP, and you also had Mahesh Sharma as an MP. So you had 3 satellite towns.
In periphery
And
of 100
And Harshvardhan from Delhi
So,
as well.
so speaking of Dr. Harshvardhan, does one expect him to continue as health minister?
He was taken removed from health ministry.
Yes, but
Yeah, he's a science minister.
He was the
science minister.
And he was more for the
no, but that was
religious
when
things.
JP Nadda was looking after health, and he's not been sworn in this time. So health again.
Shripad Naik was given that job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Shripad Naik continues. So perhaps he will continue with
perhaps he will continue.
He will continue with that job.
Mr. Sen.
Harshvardhan fell foul of the tobacco lobby. And it's quite well known here in Delhi that he fell foul of the tobacco lobby because he insisted on trying to implement the various health approach to smoking. So he was shunted out because and the tobacco lobby is not just manufacturers, but they're also very, very large tobacco farmers in Gujarat and Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat being very important. So I don't know whether he'll get back into health unless he swears that he's not going to do anything about tobacco. That's clear.
I must bring this up, and if you're all holding the list, if I'm wrong, please tell me. Number 20, Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi is the only Muslim and the only religious minority representative in the entire cabinet of 60 people.
Yeah.
There are no Christians. There's one, obviously, Ms. Badal is Sikh. Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri is Sikh, but no Christians and only one Muslim. Is that
I'm
stuck?
sure there must be some Jains also.
The first innings there were 2, so you had Shahnawaz as well, but this time there isn't any. So.
There isn't any. Mr. Rao?
Yes, I'm surprised by this religion-wise calculation. There's only one Muslim and no Christian.
No Christians at all, yes.
Because I think this time Christians had voted for BJP. Particularly from cities, Christians had voted. And if you have to make inroads in Kerala, then you cannot ignore Christians like this. But there must be some different plan for in Modi's mind.
Yes.
Perhaps because the sitting minister, Christian minister, had lost the election. So he
Mr.
had
Alphonse. Yes.
Alfonso.
Yes.
So he had no ready hand another minister. But
it's also, it's also a
Jains
factor of how
are
many
also a
tickets you
minority.
handed out as a result of how many wins you will get. The proportion of tickets handed out to Muslims, for example, was sharply lower this time by both Congress and BJP than in 2014, right?
Yes, and I think one other factor which, just to play fair, is that this is not the full cabinet. So you will have additions maybe in the coming couple of months or so, because technically it will go up till about 70 odd. That's the ideal length at which it
But most of the
last time it was 70.
Last time it was 70.
72, sir.
72.
Yes.
No, but most of the additions will not be at the cabinet levels.
That's right. It will be the
It will be
MLC.
the
Yes.
Minister of States.
Yeah.
What concerns me now,
Yes.
I'm please correct me if I'm wrong. This cabinet, whatever I see at glance, there is no great rural face. There are a couple of Adivasi ministers, but otherwise it is urban or semi-urban cabinet. So does it suffice the purpose?
In fact, Mr. Naqvi is actually speaking with the press. Can we listen in?
संकल्प के साथ देश को संदेश जो दिया है, सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास, और जो चुनौतियां हैं उस पर भी विजय हासिल करना है। और साथ ही साथ प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने उन पिछले 5 वर्षों में हर ज़रूरतमंद की आंखों में खुशी, उसकी ज़िंदगी में खुशहाली आए, इसके लिए जो मजबूती से काम किया उसे बढ़ाना है।
नया टास्क इस बार आप लोग के भी जिम्मे रहेगा कि अल्पसंख्यकों को जोड़ने के बाद?
अभी तो देखिए, अभी ओथ ली है, कल से जो है वो काम शुरू होगा, उसके बाद आपसे बात करेंगे। हमारे साथ
Right. Also adding to the list of ministers or people who were dropped from the team, PP Chaudhary, SS Ahluwalia, Subhas Bamre, Ajay Tamta, Krishna Raj, Sudarshan Bhagat, Vijay Goyal and Ramkripal Yadav. There's also information coming in on why Vijay Goyal was dropped, because he refused to contest from East Delhi, apparently, and that's the reason why he was dropped. Bacha Sen, are you surprised by the list of people who've been left out or dropped?
Well, you know, I think basically, I think the point which was made earlier, which is there's the representation from the national capital region has tended to be far too top heavy. So as far as Vijay Goyal, firstly, it's quite likely that he was dropped because of indiscipline. But the point is, they've already got Harshvardhan, they have got VK Singh in there, they've got Rao Inderjeet Singh. Then you mustn't forget, I just don't remember his name, the gentleman from Faridabad. He is also in the ministry, and Faridabad is very much part of the national capital region. So I think Vijay Goyal didn't stand a chance anyway, so he refused to stand from East Delhi, whatever it is. So I'm not surprised by the dropping of Vijay Goyal or not in induction. What might happen, I suspect, is that Alphonse anyway was, if I'm not mistaken, was from the Rajya Sabha. He never won an election in Kerala. He's moved from party to party and he's not won from any of them. So it's possible that for various reasons, not just because he's a Christian, but also because he's from Kerala, that as you know, in the next 2 or 3 months, as and when Mr. Modi wants to expand his council of ministries, then perhaps someone like Alphonse will get a look in. I'm not surprised at too many of the ones that were dropped. Yes, I was surprised by the dropping of Maneka Gandhi, but she probably will come back in another avatar. I do believe that the dropping of Suresh Prabhu, which is quite startling. There was nothing terribly wrong. In fact, she was a very good minister. I do believe that Jayant Sinha being dropped again.
Yes,
I cannot possibly assume that because of his father he was dropped, because his father did and said all sorts of things over the last more than 1 year, and he was chugging along quite fine, and he was doing his job, and I don't think Modi had said Modi was given a ticket, and so his being dropped is a surprise. Jayant Sinha, I'm not terribly. Of course, we were all expecting this, so it's not a surprise, but still. Amit Shah entering the ministry and Jaishankar, who I didn't expect at all, entering the ministry is a surprise. You know, it's in a sense that it portends for something more important that is likely to take place in the way this country is going to be governed.
In fact, Jewel Oram, who's been dropped, was sworn in as cabinet minister last time,
Yeah,
and then and he's been dropped now entirely. Whereas Dharmendra Pradhan perhaps is occupied that position now of lead BJP, sort of person coming out of Odisha, and my change of fortunes quite drastically.
My sense is that now that the Odisha State Assembly elections are done, the tribal face of the party perhaps will shift to Jharkhand. That's my sense, because that's where the other state which has
and
a large
we did
tribal
see, yes.
Arjun Munda may be
one of them.
man who's replaced.
Yeah, so we understand there are apparently 20 first-timers.
That's right.
In the cabinet, out of 60, so 20 first-timers have been sworn in.
So 1/3 have been our first-timers.
Yes. So so we have a few minutes, and I want to ask you this now: what do you think from the list that you're holding in your hand? What are you most pleasantly surprised with? What is the greatest positive that you see out of this list? When you look at it, is there anything that gives you confidence?
Well, I mean, I would have looked at the positives only when the portfolios are out. But if you go by only the names, I am most pleasantly surprised by Jaishankar. I think that's a great strategic move. this is a ministry where you perhaps require a specialist. It also takes off some of the load of the PMO, because the PMO was running the foreign ministry pretty much. And I think the PMO realizes it, and they want to give time somewhere else.
So this for me looks like a brilliant combination, right? Because the Prime Minister is a natural face of our external affairs team. He has been the face of the team for the last 5 years. And now he's got a strategist who will then empower or basically push that face even further and be able to get more bang for the buck of every meeting, every trip, every negotiation that does happen. So now they make an excellent team, as opposed to maybe a different foreign affairs minister pulls in a different direction.
Also, look, I mean, when Sushma was representing India in several international fora, she used to carry that gravitas. She was a politician, very articulate as well. And the person who's being brought in now, hopefully he'll be the foreign minister, he will carry even more gravitas in terms of the domain knowledge that he has. He's somebody who knows probably things at the back of his hand. That's what he's done all his life. So the gravitas and the respect that the India needs at the international stage shall remain intact if he ends up being the foreign minister.
Mr. Rao?
To be from insider has advantages and also disadvantages.
Okay.
Because advantage is that you know the circuits and circuits know you. But at the same time, the biases are very hard.
Okay.
Now he has been in external IFS for such a long time and in this very, very responsible position for last decade and a half. So there definitely there will be strong biases against him and strong biases in favor of him. They may hit him during his regime, but at the same time he knows the business inside out. That would be helpful. Will Modi be able to take, or does he have that mindset to take the advice of a former bureaucrat? That is to be seen.
But actually
so
picking him would sort of suggest that, I mean, it would defeat your purpose if you've brought him in at such a high rank, and if you don't take his advice, then that entire move would have been
no, that must be the idealistic view. Yes, I must have a bureaucrat who has
so you're saying will the personality
but once you start giving the advice and when it comes to following the advice against your own attitude, then there is a problem.
All right, Anuragji, what is your...
I think that Jaishankar is a big asset for...
It's a big positive.
It's a big asset, and he knows, especially on the China front, his expertise on China and America, and he is the man, because in previous...
Do you see China as important in the next 5 years? Is it perhaps going to be the key job for anyone who takes on external affairs?
Yeah.
As important as any other which we've had. I mean, remember, Jaishankar was the man who led the Doklam negotiations, which were very complicated. They were not easy at all. It was very incredibly
difficult. And hopefully
difficult.
this time Prime Minister will take External Affairs Minister with him, because previously Sushma ji used to remain in India and he used to travel.
And the Prime Minister would do the
traveling. So this will be a good change. And I'm still, I feel that the inclusion of Amit Shah is also a very positive thing, because if you are working with one team, and this team can be, even as a finance minister, let them give chance, what's wrong. And these two changes are very important, and nobody will feel vacuum that Jaitley ji and Sushma are...
Yes. Vivek, I've nearly run out of time, but I'll let you quickly tell us what you think is your positive.
Everyone's talked good things about Mr. Jaishankar. Now, the one assumption we are making here is that Mr. Modi will let him take over.
That is my point.
That is a very big assumption. And I mean, I have serious doubts on that.
You have serious doubts. Would you have also liked to see maybe an MOS finance come in like this, a bureaucrat who understands?
I would have loved to see Jayant Sinha as an MOS finance. I mean, I can understand you cannot have a out-and-out technocrat as a finance minister. But I mean, given the fact that he's also, Jayant Sinha is a politician, he's and he's won an election, so...
Yeah, there's no reason why
not. Now, the only reason why I slightly disagree with Vivek and Bharat sir on this is because we're talking about Jaishankar is this. Look, Jaishankar is a career diplomat. Career diplomats are trained to be the backroom boys behind the shadows. They're never the front. Unlike IS officers who are used to being the front. They are the face of the administration from the district posting onwards to the secretary of the ministry onwards. IFS officers is part of the DNA. They're very different from IS officers. I think people, we tend to, they are chalk and cheese. There is nothing common between IFS and an IS.
All right, we've run out of time, but you're absolutely right. Most, most officers, are also trained, diplomats, because they're called diplomats, they're also trained in the careful art of handing out that advice and the careful art of making sure the advice is taken, because handing out advice to politicians is actually, briefings is what they do, it's part
so
of
my
their
point was that
entire
if he will be under Mr. Modi's shadow, he'll be okay with that, because
so.
that's what he's
All
used
right, we have to take
But
a
do we
quick
need
break.
a foreign secretary or a foreign minister?
But I do believe the Prime Minister is the foreign minister.
It doesn't
isn't
matter.
Yeah. For that, one will have to mold according to the demand.
Yes.
If he keeps accommodating himself as what Modi's mind said, then he is reduced to foreign minister, foreign secretary. Is he okay with that? Then fine. If he wants to become foreign minister, then Modi will have to have a different role.
Well, I suppose only time will tell, because we're going to have to watch. So we're watching for two things, viewers. In the next half an hour or an hour or so, we'll have the actual lists of which cabinet, which minister, and you know, that will actually make a lot of things very, very clear. And like Vivek quite pointed out, it's only in the first 6 months of performance that we'll be able to tell how this cabinet will perform, but it is, you know, some interesting surprises, and of course, in typical Amit Shah, Narendra Modi style, they make the decisions they believe ought to be made, irrespective of, you know, what the politics of it might be or whose feelings may be hurt. They do whatever they think needs to be done. So, brand new cabinet is now in place. Stay with us. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side to track who gets which ministry.